it would just be crazy to be in a conversation with 100,000 people at the same time. You know what I mean?
I like how you frame that.
Yeah.
This is the Behind the Sound podcast where we talk to producers, engineers, artists, and other creatives alike. Hosted by Sean Gray and Nanak.
Is this official? Are we on?
Yeah, we are on. We are on.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. How is it? How are you doing today?
It's first podcast ever. It's feeling great.
Sick.
I just dropped 2 songs.
Jeez.
What songs are they?
So they're two songs about breakups, actually, and they're like the first songs I've written about other people. So one of them's called You Never Call. You can find it on like City Stranger on my Spotify, and the other one's called Incorrect. So
Okay.
Word.
yeah, I felt like I needed to give the fans 2 just because I have been kind of quiet the last year. But
Nice.
working in dungeon.
I feel that.
So tell us what else you do, bro.
So I'm an engineer here at Orange in this lovely studio that y'all aren't seeing. And a music producer, programmer, singer, songwriter, help other people with their music and all that stuff, and do a lot of my own too. Been like lately I've been trying to transition more into TV and film because just that's where the money's at, and like I've been kind of battling to like keep my art and my bank separate and like sort of figuring that out now. But
Right.
yeah, basically I love talking to people. I love just being like a host and just like welcoming people into the space and letting artists do their thing and create, and like vocal producing like that, and also just like making music. So
Sick.
yeah.
Sick. So what got you into engineering and why here at Orange?
Well, I went to Ryerson and media production at Ryerson, and I went in being like a grade 12 drama student at Cawthra, and I was like, oh, I'm going to make documentaries about how fucked up the world is. And like, I don't know I wanted to be like David Attenborough or some shit. And that kind of like, you know, I don't know. I never really pursued that much. Like, it was just kind of like, I've always wanted to like be a positive impact in the world, but I never knew exactly how. And like, I was like, documentaries are sick because it's like, you know,
Okay.
even back then, like the news is just like, it's all kind of manipulated, and it's you know, it's not as pure as it used to be anymore. So I was like, I'm going to give the people that pure info, you know?
Yeah.
But never did that. Did a little bit of acting in university. I was like, my parents are musicians, so ever since I was a kid, I've like loved music, and it's just been like all around my house when I was growing up, like singing in church. My mom was a conductor. My mom is still a music teacher.
What type of stuff were they playing around the house?
Oh man,
when you were
around the
growing up?
house, it was like a lot of jazz, like Ella Fitzgerald, the
Nice.
Beatles,
Yeah.
the Bee Gees, like kind of funky shit. Classical music, like Beethoven, Bach. Like my parents always wanted me to have, I guess, a little bit more of like an intellectual taste of like music. And they were never the biggest like pop music fans. I guess like in Bulgaria where they came from, like they had like kind of like rock and stuff in the 70s and 80s. But
Yeah.
I came up with listening to that kind of stuff too.
Did you live in Bulgaria?
No, like growing up, I spent a lot of time there. So definitely like influenced by being around the beach and like the town my parents grew up in, and being around there. And like my dad loves fishing and like snorkeling and spear gunning, and like I fucking love that shit. So yeah, but like in terms of like what got me to being an engineer, in third year I was gonna like drop out of university, and I was like, at that point I knew I wanted to be an artist. And my parents were like, nah, stick it out, like you'll just be like glad that you finished this, you know, like even if you don't fuck with your degree, or like you don't take a job afterwards, or you just change your mind and do something else, it's like you'll be glad you finished something. I was like, okay, like after a lot of pulling my hair out, I was like, I'll finish. And I got an internship with one of the original owners here. He was my professor, Stephen Ehrlich. He was my media business professor at Ryerson.
Okay.
And then I interviewed at like, where I went into every studio in the city, and I recommend this to anybody trying to get a job like in anything. It's just go in with your nicest shoes and your resume in your hand. Just go to the receptionist, be like, who's hiring? Like, who's in charge here? And usually she'd be like, oh, he's in a meeting, but like, come back in 5 minutes, or like just wait around. Did that to every city. Like the only people that got back to me was Tattoo Sound and Orange. So Orange was like, they had no positions on this level, like the studio, but they had like this position with Aubrey downstairs that it was like in the video department. So they do, for those that don't know, like Orange does video advertising, commercials and stuff on the second floor, and editing and filming and all that stuff. So I was a PA, and like Aubrey, Orange is like a small record label, so they have a few artists. So Aubrey always like knew I liked music, so he was like using me as his right hand kind of with all the label stuff. I was helping like build websites for these artists, Abby and Sarah, that were like these like 13-year-old girls that they wanted to push. And like then there was like this one artist, Anna Golia, who's still doing things. And like, so yeah, I was sort of working in the music labels sort of side of things. But
did you have like experience in that at the time?
I had experience building websites kind of. So like coding and Java, and like I could like make a Squarespace website like look really good.
Okay.
But like it was a Squarespace website. It wasn't like I wasn't like coding shit.
Yeah.
I was kind of coding, but like not really.
So they kind of like just like trusted you with that, right?
Yeah, they threw me in the fire, and I kind of like, I learned a lot there about like just marketing and stuff. I mean, I wouldn't say a lot. Like, the whole world of like, I was busy doing the film and video stuff and helping with that, and they were like, we're gonna make you into a commercial producer, and like and then I actually quit there for like a week, and I was like, I can't do same thing as university, third year all over again. I was like, I need to be an artist. I'm gonna go and like just like off myself if I don't start releasing music. So I was like, I had a chat with them, and then like they told me at the end of the meeting, they're like, you're gonna really regret this, because you can be an artist and like spend your time living in your mom's basement only making art, but you're gonna lose a lot of connections in the industry, and like this industry is like all about connections.
Straight up.
You know what I mean? Even just being in the room as an engineer, you don't know who you're gonna meet that might be your next producer, that as a songwriter, or like your next collaborator, right? So they're like, you're gonna regret this. And I literally went home and I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna live in my mom's basement until I'm gonna blow up as an artist. Like that's just such a pipe dream,
Yeah.
That's like, yeah. So I stuck it out, and eventually I started, like, one of the other owners, Jody, did audiobooks with Penguin Random House, and they had like this huge contract for like 12 books or something, and they needed an engineer. And yeah, really quickly I just like basically got thrown in here. I remember my first day session in this room. The engineer that was like I was being mentored by, that was like the head engineer of these audiobooks in this contract with Penguin. I remember he like sat me down, like we had like a few 1 hour kind of training sessions, whatever. And then the first day comes, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to hang out and like make sure you're good to go. And I was like, okay. He's like, are you nervous? I'm like, a little bit. It's like my first session. He's like, it's your first session? You didn't tell me that? Like nobody's like, I would have never like let you do this. Like if I do this, like you hadn't been on the board before. And I was like, I got this, don't worry. And then I actually like did really good, because like, apart from being an engineer, like Jody told me, like, you're different from the other engineers here, because you've got like the natural kind of like people skills to like get the best out of an artist. I guess is like more of like a director role rather than just like a techie. And I've never considered myself like a very techie engineer. Like I still struggle all the time with my mixes. I'm like, I don't know exactly how to do this, but I'm like learning always, and watching my peers and stuff. But yeah, and then Darren, eventually I was like, you know what? I'm recording guys in my mom's, at the time I was living in my mom's basement. I was like, I got a studio downstairs. I'm recording these rappers. I got auto-tune. I know how to mix. Like Spencer showed me his template. Like, give me some music sessions. And then Darren was like, yeah, okay. And then eventually I got music sessions too. And like every time I had a session, they were like, always wrote back to Sahir or whoever booked. They were like, oh, great engineer. We want to work with him again. And they were like, Anthony's actually doing something good. So just kept going, and then eventually, built a career doing that. And now I'm kind of transitioning to TV and film. So
nice.
Word.
Yeah.
No,
Still doing music if it's like the right talent,
Right.
I feel that.
Yeah.
So who are some of the people you worked with while being at Orange as an engineer?
So
on the music side.
Earlier on, the music people, like artists, would be, I spent a lot of sessions with Pressa. He was before he moved to LA. We only ended up having like, this is very common. You record 100 songs and like 2 of them come out, because it's like the quality has to be like, they say kill your babies, right? So we recorded like probably like 200 songs. I think I have like 4 cuts with him. I think 1 or 2 that I mixed.
Was on his first project?
Oh, no. This was like
Prestige.
Prestige, yeah.
Prestige.
So yeah, there was that, and then around like the Toronto rapper scene, he hung out a lot with Killy. I like met Killy a bunch of times and recorded him once. Met Houdini a bunch of times, recorded him once. Roy Woods, who else? Nav, I was dubbed the assistant engineer of the year by Nav, because like he was like, all these other assistant engineers, they come into the room all the time, they're like asking you how are you, they're like trying to like sit in the session and stuff and like be in the room, and I always was just like watching movies at the reception desk and just cleaning their garbage every 20 or 40 minutes, making sure, hey, like, do you want me to go on a run? Like I was doing my job, but like, I wasn't pushing to be in the room, and he really liked that. So he really liked me. Around him, like Young Thug came in one time.
Shit.
Actually, no. Oh yeah, Young Thug was the night J. Cole and Young Thug both had a concert
No
at this.
way.
I think they were both
Really?
on the same bill at ACC. And J. Cole asked us after Thugger, but yeah, Young Thug came first, and the guy is fucking tall, man.
Yeah, how's that?
Wait, what is he,
so
like, what,
tall.
6'5", 6'6"?
Oh, I don't know. I thought he was like a fucking 7-footer. Like it was
Damn.
just crazy. Like anklets with like dripping in ice, like 10,000 chains on his neck. Like, and the thing is, like, he had literally like 30 people in the room.
Jeez.
And his engineer and me like got to talking and stuff, and like he actually like would, like, the stories are true. Like he would go in and mix himself and track himself sometimes if he
was
wanted to.
very hands-on. Yeah,
Very hands-on. And like while 30 people, his girlfriend, everybody's eating food, drinking, whatever, like literally talking and partying in the background. But the control room's like kills the sound a bit, but like he was still on the mic, like just rapping.
Yeah.
And like there's no music, it's just his voice, and people are like literally vibing to it. And I was just like, I remember seeing that, walking into the room with him like bobbing around. I was like, this guy's really like a fucking star. Like
Yeah.
he
Go
can,
for sure.
Yeah.
like literally a room with 30 people having fun. He's just like out here
He's
working.
contagious. He's very contagious.
Very contagious, yeah. Who else? Like Nav. I remember Gunna came one time. Met
Alessia.
Super Mario. Alessia Cara. Yeah, I
Yeah.
helped cut Box in the Ocean on her last album. Spencer helped
Nice.
more on that album. One of our other engineers here. He's like more senior than me. Spencer and Metal are like the senior engineers.
Right.
I've been here the longest after them.
Yeah.
And who else? And then like, yeah, more recently, through Lou Val, I met like, Lou Val is a notable mention, obviously, too. Majid Jordan, like Jordan Ullman and Majid, like
Jeez.
they're amazing people. Like I've just learned so much about being a producer, artist, like engineer from them. Like they've taught me a lot. Like, the OVO camp is like, so they like, what they have is like their level of self-critique is so high. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's very important to them to like not just feel like you're the best because everybody else says it. It's like, we have to prove this, and we have to like make music that first of all makes us really, really excited, and like hold ourselves to that standard before anybody else sees it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I learned that from them. And then yeah.
A lot of big names.
Yeah.
Seems like a lot of pressure. How do you handle all that?
I don't know. I mean, there's more even too, but it's just like at a certain point, it's not even about like, it's not about who you're working with that day. It's like every artist treats this as like a job,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like they're here to do work. Some of them are here to party,
Yeah.
but like, usually it's here to do work, and it's like, yeah, we're just all, professionals at what we do. And like, I don't really tell a lot of people about like who I work with, because I feel like it's like bragging, or like, I don't like name dropping ever, unless somebody's like actually like, oh, I love that person. I'm like, oh, I worked with them, and like tell them like as a fan, like they'll love that story, but
Yeah.
I just treat it like, it's the same as like working construction, or like working as a hairdresser or whatever. I just
get
like
used to
show
it.
up to my job,
Have you ever like been on the board, like been with an artist, operating Pro Tools and like felt nervous, felt shaky? How was that?
Every session.
No way.
I always get sweaty. Like my palms, literally before I have to shake somebody's hand at the end of the session, I have to like rub my pants. I'm like, because I'm out there like sweating all the time. I'm like, ugh. But I keep it cool. Like I never let the artist feel like they always know that I'm in my domain and like that they can trust me with whatever they throw at me.
Right.
Like, they know I'm going to set their compressor and their EQ and they're not going to clip and they're going to have a good mix in their headphones. And if they want a coffee, I'll get them that. It's like I'm here to host and do everything. And like they know that,
But it seems like you've found a way to channel that pressure into just kind of getting the job done.
Yeah. It is about getting the job done. And it's like, I don't really think that you should feel bad about like being nervous. It just means you care. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I still get nervous all the time, but it's like, obviously you get more nervous when shit's not going that well. And or like something starts to happen or a preamp is not working
Definitely
or something.
been there.
And you're like, fuck, I got to figure this out. But, I think communication is like what gets me through most things. It's like, if you tell somebody, hey man, give me 2 minutes, I will fix this, or like I need to diagnose this problem. Even if you don't know what it is, hey, I don't know exactly what's going on. I'm just diagnosing it, working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes these things are hard to diagnose. Like just give me a second here, and then keep them updated with like you're working something. Okay, I tried this, it's not working. I'll try this, and a lot of this game is troubleshooting and waiting around, and tech fails all the time.
All the time.
And people understand that, right? Humans are prone to error. Nobody expects anything to be perfect. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And if they do, usually I don't work with them again because it's like, it's hard to be around people like that. But like, I'm like super lucky to like, and I don't tell this to many people, but like my parents put me through university, for example. Like I grew up my parents were immigrants and, they raised me off of very little to begin with, but then they started to get more successful throughout life. We ended up living in like a really nice, well-off neighborhood and all that stuff. But like at the same time, it's like you asked me how to tell the story of where I got here, and it's like it's not just because I was lucky. It's like I had to go through so many hoops and baskets and doors to like, inch my way closer to where I am today. So yeah, it is a lot of. There's so many stories to tell and I forget them a lot, but like, it's nice to do this and just remember,
No, it's good. I think it's always important to like be reflecting on like where you came from and remember like how far you've come, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's super important.
Yeah.
You feel grateful for everything that you've been through. So
I get down sometimes like thinking I'm like chasing my artist thing right now. And it's like, I wish I did this like younger. There's younger artists out there and and like, but at the same time, it's like, I wouldn't trade places with anybody because, look at how many people I've worked with. Look at how much experience I have. Would I be as good of an artist even, like, without learning? Obviously, like, art is a lot about your own emotion and life experience and your own story. And it's a craft, right? And you learn crafts, not through a textbook, but through, like, watching other people do it,
Yeah.
So I wouldn't trade at anything, And also, like what you said, if I ever feel down, like I just ask myself, like, where was I a year ago?
yeah.
Darren taught me that. And I was like, that's really fucking smart because it's hard on everybody in this industry. It's like, literally, I feel like the music industry is the most competitive industry in the world because it's like, statistically, I think you're more likely to be like an NHL player than like make it as an artist. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Is that
it's
true?
like, it's very fucking competitive.
It depends on what we look at as like make it though. What it is to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends.
But to be in that like top 3% or like top, you know what I mean? Like, the big leagues.
To get on the Billboard Hot 100.
Yeah, exactly. Like Hot 100 or top 40. But it's a massive climb, and it's like you can constantly compare yourself to other people and be like, oh, I'm not where I need to be. But then it's like, neither were they when they started out. You know what I mean? It's like easy to just like look at somebody that's in their prime and be like, oh, they were woke up like this.
Yeah. Have you ever like felt like you're climbing a mountain and then you feel like you get to the top of the mountain and then realize that there's just another mountain
Yeah.
waiting for you to
You're
climb?
just sitting at the base of like another mountain. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And I think that never ends. I think like even people at the top are like, how can I do better? I was talking to Lou the other day and he was like, just telling me like he told me I'm trying to plateau. And I was like, though, that's like what I'm afraid of. Like, I'm afraid of plateauing and like not being able to be better, but he's like the moment I plateau, I'll quit, you know? But it's like until I get there, nobody can tell me to stop if I'm getting better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like if I'm getting better, it means like God's not done with me, you know? Like I'm not finished, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like that constant strive for that, like, I guess, ultimate kind of like leveling up of your being.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's like, yeah, I hope that I never honestly reach it. Cause then like nobody can tell me to quit, you know, like I'll just be 70-year-old touring and like still killing it. Cause it's like, I'm dope, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or I'm still getting better. That's how I feel Paul McCartney is. It's like the guy's like written so many songs, but like you listen to the new songs he's making and like even collaborating with new artists, it's like he's still got it. Like, and he's still learning and he's still getting better, you know?
Yeah. So you said you dropped 2 songs today.
Yes.
And so how many songs do you have out now?
This is my 5th. Yeah.
Okay, so I've helped you with some of those songs.
LaGill mastered Burn. I think you mixed I Wish You Would.
Yeah.
And then you mastered the last 3.
Yeah.
F My Mistakes, Incorrect, and Call.
Correct. I would say the progression there, aesthetically speaking,
Mm-hmm.
and the style of music and the songwriting itself is a big leg up. Like a big leg up.
Appreciate it. I still feel like I'm finding my sound.
Mhm.
Like I have records right now where I'm like, the guys that are in my band are telling me like, oh, you're really dialing in the sound now. And I feel like I'm getting there now, but
Yeah.
it's good to see that progression at least. Like even though I've gone through such a diverse genre base in all the music, it's like I'm still, as a songwriter, core like melody, chord progression, kind of like those core like foundations of songs, it's like getting better, right?
Like the best part, like of just hearing your music is like, even though it's so diverse, like you could tell that you're being yourself, and like it's coming out still genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I feel like that's what's missing in like music. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
It's
definitely do like do it for myself before anybody else. you know?
Yeah. And
I
it
used to think
translates.
you make music for other people, and you know,
Boy, that's not true.
it's not true. Yeah. I remember Gabby, like Miko was telling me one time, like we were mixing this stuff and we were like going so hard on this mix. And I was like, most people won't fucking tell the difference between this. And she was like, I don't care. We're making this because we want to make this, you know? And that really opened my eyes. I was like, yeah, it's like most people might not tell the difference between like a mediocre mix and like a really good mix, but it's like musicians will, you know? And it's like, I think a lot of artists come up not because other people like them, it's because it's like other musicians like them. It's like you're pushing the envelope of like music
Yeah.
Right.
as like a living language, you know?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's important to, be respected by your peers and people that, you work with. Like you said, like other, like when I get a compliment on like a mix by another mixer or a mixer that I used to look up to,
Yeah.
or I do look up to, like that makes me feel really good. So I'm sure coming on like the artist side, it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
How does that feel on your end, coming from being an engineer to now mixing your own tracks? Like, how does it feel to have that pressure from other musicians, knowing that they expect your mixes and stuff to be like top tier?
The thing is, like, somebody I won't say who told me like a little secret about the music industry. They said like if your mixes are getting better, people will think that your music is getting better too. So I actually try not to put too much pressure. Like I put all the pressure on the songs always to get better, but it's like right now I'm not putting as much pressure on the mixes. Like I mix them as good as I can, but it's like I also know that they'll sound better next year because I'll be a better mixer too. So it's like I honestly try not to think too much about like what other people will think about it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like now, like the sound I'm creating now is more like dancey, and like the reason I'm going in that route is because I see myself more and more on stage every day, like just in my vision, and I know that like playing slower, sadder songs is not going to make people want to dance and move and groove as much. So I'm like, in a sense, like I'm doing that for other people, but it's more so like I'm playing live as a shared experience. So I'm doing it for my experience on stage because I know that if I make dancier music, that energy is going to bounce back from the crowd to me, and I'm going to be able to perform better and have more fun as a performer. So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
like, it's
Right.
still coming from a selfish place, you know?
Exactly.
But I did struggle a lot with like the first 2 songs, putting them out, because I was like, oh my God, I've been in this industry and this like worked with all these people. Like people expect me to like come out with like sounding like The Weeknd or like Ariana Grande or like something. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I have to really like perfect these mixes and everything. And like, honestly, I think the mixes and the work suffered because I came at it from such like a high pressure point.
Yeah.
Whereas now I come at it from like the pressure of like, I listen to Stevie Wonder and I'm like, obviously they recorded on tape, so like there is nothing above 16K anyways, but like it's like I'm trying to recreate that sound because that's the music I like, and like the result is just like so much better. You know what I mean? Like people are like, I guess people have had nice mixes on the
It's
ones before,
responsive,
but
like,
like
people-
for me, I feel like it's better.
Yeah. Like people seem to respond to that type of music differently.
Yeah.
I've noticed too that you're just from knowing you, that like I've seen you just becoming like more happier as well, like with yourself
Mm-hmm.
and like posting online. Like you've been a lot more engaging with people, and like where's that coming from? Because like I Wish You Would and Burn are like they're kind of sad songs. They're still dancey and they have
Yeah.
a bop to them, but
Yeah.
what was the change? Because that was what
Well, I'm still writing sad music.
but like in a more dancier type feel now.
I guess, yeah. I mean, the new ones I feel like that I'm putting out right now are like, they are kind of like more folky, kind of like, you know, breakup feels kind of songs.
Mhm.
I'd say Burn was like pretty dancey, even though it was like sad. I think that's a lot of the magic in music is like creating different contrasting emotions too, you know?
Mhm.
Like making a sad lyric over like a happy beat. Like it just
Mhm.
creates a sort of like, somebody told me once in a bar, they're like, if you want to sing or like be an artist, you have to have like gone through shit and like forgiven. And that like just gave me, even thinking about it, gave me chills now, because it's like you really have to give something up
Mhm.
in order to move people. And it's like people that have like suffered and are still suffering and they haven't been able to forgive themselves or forgive somebody else and move past that. You know, I feel like that's what makes artists that are really, really strong who they are, is because they've been through shit and they've been able to move past it. And for me, that's why it makes total sense to make like a happy beat or like make a sad lyric over a happy beat, because
Right.
you listen to it and you've been through shit and it kind of makes you feel shittier, but then it also makes you feel better after, you know?
Yeah, that contrast is nice, right?
But then sometimes like the songs I'm writing now, it's like they're kind of sad sounding, and it's like sometimes you want a sad lyric in a sad song to make you feel even shittier. And then it's like that's like catharsis, just like lets it out of your system, you know?
Yeah.
But in terms of like being online and being happier and stuff, like I just like honestly I love being able to make music. Like for a long time I didn't even listen to music, and like I was just like not really writing, and I was just in a weird place, and like, you know, my neighbor told me, I was like, "Oh, if the sound ever bothers you, like just like let me know." And he's like, "If you make music, that means you're happy. Like good for you." You know what I mean? Like, and that really was like eye-opening for me, because I was like, I'm just blessed to be able to make music, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's what keeps me happy, is like keeps me going, just releasing and making more music, you know?
Nice.
So since a kid, right? Because like your parents used to do music, like was it ever since like you were like super young you knew you wanted to be an artist, or did that come like later on?
Well, when I was really little, my mom put me in choir when I was 9, and I was like, fuck this. But like, thank God she put me through that, because that taught me to sing harmonies.
Yeah.
Like you could be singing whatever line and like tell me a harmony, and I'll be like, okay, boom, I got it. And I'll sing over top that thing, like the harmony. Like being in a choir just helped me so much with harmonies, and like just being able to like sing in like a complex harmonic structured like one thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, but at that point I was like not thinking about being an artist. Like I was just singing other people's music. What really got me into music was I played guitar since I was like 7, classical and acoustic, but like when I was 13 I got my first electric.
That's always a
was
game
that
changer,
your
bro.
choice, or did
Oh.
your parents put you on that?
Totally my choice. Like I think I just started going through puberty, and I was like looking at these cool rock stars and like leather jackets and bands and stuff, and like I just looked at those guys and I was like, I need a electric guitar to get girls. Like that's just the formula, obviously. So I got an electric guitar. My parents got me one, and then an amplifier. And as soon as I plugged that in, and I just played one chord, I was like, bro, the power, the power I felt like I learned how to fly an airplane or something. I was like, I'm fucking soaring right now, you know? Whereas acoustic guitar, classical, you play a chord and it's like, it's pretty or whatever, but electric, it's like one chord, it's like, bam, like you can just shake a room.
Yeah, all that voltage just,
you know,
going crazy.
And that's when I knew, I was like, I can fucking write songs. Like, it's not that difficult. I just need to play one fucking F major chord and start singing la-di-da or whatever melody and words come out.
Yeah.
And there's a song, you know? So it just became simple to me then. And whereas before maybe I thought about it, but I was like, oh, it's too difficult, or like I could never do this. But like then I just realized like how simple it is, you know, with the right tools. And then like, yeah, ever since I was 13, I was just like, that's when I knew I needed to be a rock star. As soon as I plugged that chord, and I was like, I literally probably wrote my first song like that day, you know?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you have like old stuff out that you might resurrect?
Oh my God. My SoundCloud from back in the day, like those songs were so bad.
Could someone please go find that SoundCloud?
No, it's all taken down. It's all, I'm pretty sure it was like, it's linked to my current SoundCloud. I just took everything down and changed the name and rebranded and all that. But yeah, so like I used to play in like, I think I was in 3 or 4 bands in high school. Some of them like I was leading and writing. Some of them were other people's music. We had some stuff on SoundCloud out and stuff, but we played around Toronto, like in like hostels and stuff. We played a few shows with this band called LocoCity. If anybody remembered LocoCity, like, thank you. You're one of my earliest fans. Yeah, that was like, you know, high school the first year, but I left that band and started my own solo project, and that's when I really felt like I was coming into my own artist thing. And that's only recently, yeah.
So what was the big pivot from being an engineer to
I never felt like I was really an engineer first, because like I was always an artist first, you know? And to me, this was like, I'm going to like pay somebody to make my songs or produce them or engineer them my whole life. I might as well just like learn how to do it, and then I'll just be a god. Like nobody can fuck with me, you know?
Right.
So that's why I wanted to work here so badly. And like, also I wanted to do something for my day job that like was related to music.
Right.
And then I learned, not really that quickly, kind of slowly, that like it's not really the best idea to like make your source of income also your art and your passion, because then it can just become like you're doing it for the money, not for the art. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like working as an engineer, like for artists, is like a hugely demanding job, you know?
Yeah.
If you're not like a producer and engineer first, you're like an artist first, I would say great, go get an internship at a studio, work with like an engineer, like work for artists and stuff, but like, you know, always have time to like make your own music. And like I always made time, but like until the pandemic, like I really, you know, I told a lot of like my clients and my peers, I was like, I'm sorry, like I need to focus on this right now. And they understood, you know, every single one of them. But I had to make that conscious shift and like tell people like, you know, I can't chase these 2 rabbits. Like I'm either spending 100 hours a week like doing your music and your music and your music, and like not really leaving the time for myself, or the other way around. And I feel like if you really want to make it, or like if you really want to make the best music you want to make, like you got to devote a lot of yourself to it, you know?
Right.
So when I realized that, I was like, yeah, I need to kind of like figure out something else.
Yeah. I think you went about it the right way.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
How has the connections you've built like over the times like helped you out in terms of like your artist path now? Because I'm sure you still have like the connections to a couple of these people, right?
Yeah. Like artists, you mean? Or
artists, like while you're doing like the corporate stuff, the people you met there and everything like that.
Yeah. So like the connections have definitely helped me. Like, you know, the connections with artists has helped me, because like now, you know, if I share a song or something and like, you know, one of my friends is an artist and I have a little bit of star power, maybe they'll share it. You know what I mean? Like maybe they'll, you know, their fans will see it. And like, if I'm looking for a producer to like help me like push my sound forward, like I know so many talented producers that I can just like hit up and be like, hey, here's my unreleased songs, like do a remix to it. Let's see if we can like work on something together. And like that's actually happened, you know? So I've definitely met like a lot of talented people that like now I can start building more like closely with. In terms of like managers and lawyers and agents and all that stuff, like those are like really important people in terms of the business, because like we don't make music to sell music. We just make music to fucking go on stage and just like jam out and just like, you know, have fun. But we need people like that like know the business and know how to make money from it. Cause like, you know, some artists are really good at that, but I'm not like the best. Like I'm good at managing myself right now. Like I'm doing a lot myself, but managers and stuff, they really want to see that you're doing it yourself first before they help you. But yeah, every single release, like, you know, I just keep bugging the same people. I'm like, hey, check this out. Just reminding you, you know, like, here's my up and coming song, you know?
Yeah.
And eventually I think maybe after like 4 or 5 tries, like one of them will be like, you know what, let's give this guy like a chance. Like, let's, you know, I know this person that's at this label. Maybe they can help them with distribution, or I know this person that can help them with, you know, PR, or like, I know this person that can help them with touring or whatever. So it's like it's good to know those people, because it's like, it won't happen right away, but at least I have people to like message and follow up with constantly and just nag them about it.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Do you have are you like actively looking for a manager though?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, the whole idea of like a manager will find you. Yeah, they want to see you doing it first yourself. That is absolutely true, but it doesn't mean you can't ask people. And it's like, no good manager is going to like be like, yeah, like let's do it the first time you ask them. They want to see you like doing it repeatedly, you know? So I'm actively asking people. And yeah, I mean, maybe one day, like somebody that I haven't asked, they'll just find me and just be like, hey, I work at whatever label. Let's do something, you know?
I feel like the only other way to like get a manager is if it was like, you know, your friend who just happened to become a manager, or someone you're already working with and whatnot. But
a friend that's like doesn't have the track record or whatever, but wants to like work with artists and stuff.
Yeah, or just, you know, a friend that really believes in you and wants to help you. Like, I could see that also happening.
Yeah. I have reached out to friends like that too, because like I feel like you want somebody that's not just a big manager, but somebody that's also going to kill for you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So even if they don't have the track record and stuff, but in terms of like really like a manager that will help you like get to the next level, it's like, yeah, they probably should have a track record, you know?
Do you see any managers that are managing artists as well?
Of course, yeah. Like a lot of my friends and colleagues have managers, so definitely there's tons of them.
Okay.
Like for example, like, you know, there's a lot of people at 21 Entertainment that like work with Alessia Cara and Nelly. You know, there's Lou's managers, there's you know, new is it like a rap artist, his manager, you know. And they're like varying degrees, you know, of like track record and whatever, but like I think a good artist should have a manager, you know. But you know, as long as it's the right fit.
I agree.
Yeah.
I do want to backtrack, right? So in the last interview, we actually interviewed Sean, and we spoke about how you guys met, right? I want to hear your side of that story.
Yeah.
And how did you guys like come across each other?
I remember you came to my apartment, and you were just like, yo, can I buy you a coffee and pick your brain or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
you actually got
first
coffee.
text was.
Yeah,
we actually had ice caps.
Yeah, I brought you ice cap.
And yeah, I remember I was really impressed. Like I remember being like, you know, you were like, show me some stuff you're working on. I was like, oh, here's some stuff with like Loco. Oh, I didn't mention LocoCity. Yeah, he's obviously the big reason I'm here where I am today is because of him. But yeah, I was showing you some stuff, and then you were showing me your mixes. I was like, these fucking sound better than mine. Like, what do you need my advice? You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, I do remember that. And it was just like completely out of the blue. You just hit me up, I think on Instagram or whatever. I think you saw that I worked with Loco or whatever. And you were like, I'm trying to connect with engineers. And then, yeah. Yeah,
I think I saw the Pressa post and then a few other posts. I think it was Pressa Loco.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let me reach out to him and
What
see
what made you invite him over? Like, what did he say, or like, what did you see?
I think I just like when I see when I see somebody that's like has the cojones to like ask to meet somebody, or like to just like is obviously self-driven. Like I love that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And also at the time, like I was sort of trying to build my engineering team, you know what I mean? Like find people that could help me get to the next level and like come up underneath me, like, and eventually like surpass me, you know? So I was like, Sean looks like a really self-driven guy. And like, honestly, one of the most self-driven people I know. Like the fact that he's doing this podcast, it's like, nobody told you to do this, you know? Like,
oh, he did.
I guess they did, but like,
he did.
But you still did it, you know?
Yeah. After like 2 weeks of convincing.
After like convincing you for like a couple weeks, bro.
Yeah.
Like hours on the phone. I'm like, fuck, man. I don't know.
I mean, this is different than like engineering, but yeah. You're always like, in terms of your engineering game, you're always telling me about the newest tech or whatever. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like Stream Deck? Like
automations.
Yeah.
It's like, yo.
Yeah, you're coding now? I'm like, what is this guy smoking? Like, give me some.
Facts.
But yeah, and then we just hit it off. I think we made a beat that night.
Yeah, we made a beat.
You like showed me some of your samples. I remember there was one like called like White Shark. I was like, this is sick. Pull it up. And then we just started adding drums to it or something.
You know it was fire if he remembers the name of the loop, bro.
I do, yo. I have a visual memory. Like,
yo, White
That's
Shark.
actually so funny. And then I think from there, I think we came here to Orange one time. You brought me, showed me the studio, and you basically gave me a quick rundown on like, okay, this is how you set up the mic. And it was totally different from how I thought we set up the mic. So tell me about like the standards that, you know, we hold here at Orange.
Well, I mean, the whole like finding self-driven people I got from Darren, because it's like Orange doesn't have like an internship program. You know what I mean? It's like we won't just take somebody because you have a degree from a school and like make you into good engineer. We want people that are like gonna just like ask to be in the studio, ask to shadow your session, ask for advice, ask you for tips, like, you know? So the standard is pretty much like, you got to want it, you know, and you have to have like, you have to light your own fire under your ass. You know what I mean? Like nobody's going to light it for you. And it's like, if you aren't constantly trying to learn and get better, it's like, you know, I mean, you're just not going to get the call. You know what I mean? We're looking for people that are like trying to, you know, really get better and just do this, you know? But the standard, yeah, I mean, this is a type of job you need to like learn from watching somebody do, you know? So, I mean, yeah, like there's really no other way to put it. You just see a master at work and you learn as much as you can, and eventually you have to take your shot and you get thrown in the fire even if you're not ready, and like you learn from your mistakes and you either sink or swim, kind of, you know?
Exactly.
I like that. That was a gem right there.
Yeah.
But I remember very specifically, like, you're like, okay, set up this mic for me. And you watch me set up the mic and you're like, no.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, no, this is how you like hold the cable. This is how you actually plug it in and wrap it and everything. Yeah. Like, why is that important here at Orange?
Yeah. I mean, I hope I don't come off as like too like rough sometimes, but I feel like it's kind of like a thing for engineers to just be a little bit hard on their assistants because nowadays we have it easy, man.
Yeah.
We have it easy. Back in the day, like I don't even know how to work a tape machine, but it's like you had to fucking run from one side of the room to like press record to the other side of the room to like wrap a cable to like get back to like switch the reels to like go back and like cut it, and like everything is happening so quickly. Whereas like, you know, of course you'd get yelled at if something's taking a long time because the artist is ready to like give the world the best performance like anybody's ever heard, and you're fucking not ready yet, you know? So it's like there is a lot of pressure, you know, and it's I think it's if everything was just like, oh, take your time, like, you know, when you're ready, like nothing would get there, you know? Like this is a very like you're trying to capture lightning in a bottle, you know?
Yeah.
So everything has to be ready. Like before the artist ever steps in the room, like you should be ready 10 minutes before the session. Pro Tools is up. You've checked the mic for radio frequencies. You've wrapped the cable. There's a pencil on the stand. You know,
there's a water bottle there.
There's a water bottle there. And this is all like, you don't want to be doing this like if session's at 8, you're doing this at like 7:59. It's like you should have this all done at 7:50 so that the last 10 minutes you can have a coffee and chill and actually get in the zone and stuff. You don't ever want to scramble. You know what I mean? Like you want to have, and you also want to think like, oh, my template, like I've been doing this a lot. Like maybe I should like update my template before they come, or like maybe like, maybe this will happen. Maybe they'll need this. Like if there's a producer coming, maybe I should set up another interface and like plug it in so they're ready. And it's like, the less you have to do on the job, like when they're actually there, the better. And like the more prepared you can be, the better, because when they're there, it's like, go, go, go. Like I have an idea, boom, I want to lay it down. It's not going to be like, oh, just like record it on your phone first. Cause like, I'm not ready to record you on the mic. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I have to do that where I'm like legitimately like, I'm producing something in like in the middle of something and they're like, I have an idea. I'm like, okay, voice memo that quick. Like, before you lose it.
I literally said this on our interview. I said, the session starts at 8 o'clock. I want to be hitting record at 8 o'clock. I want to be ready to hit record at 8 o'clock. I'm not setting everything up at 8 o'clock.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think like just everybody kind of needs to hold themselves to that.
In like in the advertising and TV world, it's like much more strict because it's like you have clients and stuff. They're coming at 8 o'clock and they're expecting talent to be there, engineer to be ready, and you're actually hitting record at 8 o'clock. But it's like in a music session, you usually talk for like 15 minutes. You bitch about the music industry. You're having you're drinking your tequila or like smoking a joint or like whatever. You're just catching up. Like music's different, but it's like it is the same. It is the same mentality as like if they're here at 8, it's like I'm hitting record at 8.
Because you never know if like they come in and maybe they're having a bad day and like they just want to jump in the booth right away.
Oh my god. Yeah. But like we are here to service the artist too, but like I think it's also important to have self-respect, you know what I mean? And if somebody's not being respectful and it's like doesn't say hi or like, doesn't ask you how you're doing, it's like, yeah, you can understand like they have to get an idea out and it's like that's understandable, but if they're just being mean to you, it's like there's the door. You know what I mean? It's like it still should be like a loving, encouraging and like team kind of environment. It shouldn't be like you're my bitch.
Yeah.
How do you know what I mean?
How do you handle dealing with like egos and stuff like that when you come across it?
Egos always suck, It's like you need to have an ego to be an artist, and like that's 100% like true. Like you can't just be like, oh, I don't know if this is good or not. Like I mean, everybody goes through that, but it's like you kind of have to feel yourself and like in order to like have the confidence to get a good take, So obviously like ego is kind of a little bit encouraged, you kind of want them to feel themselves and like, you kind of sometimes you want to boost them up too. Like be like, yeah, that was great. Like you snapped, like, whatever. Like it's good to kind of boost people up. But like if an ego gets involved where it's like, there's always going to be a hierarchy, like artist, producer, engineer, right? Like engineer is never more important than the artist. It's never more important than the producer unless they're doing engineering stuff. You know what I mean? But it's like, if the artist wants something, it's like your stuff can wait. You know what I mean? Like get them what they want. But if people like start to take advantage of that, like I don't want to say names, but I've definitely been in those situations where it's like, okay, dude, like you're not being very nice right now, and it's like, I get you're famous, but it's like, chill out. Like,
it's discouraging almost.
Can you talk about like what the situation is without like naming names?
I mean, there's an artist like, and they're very like, very antsy and just like want stuff done. And then they'll be like, they won't know how to describe their idea to you. So like, they'll be like, oh, okay, I'll do this. And they're like, no, you're wrong. Like you're not listening to what I'm telling you. Like, yeah, you're not describing it really well. Like I don't live in your head. Like some people expect you to like know everything they mean. Yeah. Which is like a good skill to develop. Like you kind of want to know what the artist is going to want to do next before they do it. So like you're already punching in roll. Like that takes time. It also takes like being in a lot of like rooms and sessions to like understand the workflows that go down and like the natural progression. But sometimes if like they want these things and they're like not describing them properly, and it's like they're yelling at you because you don't get it. That's not fun. But honestly, I think it's hard for me to describe because I've had a pretty good, like I've had a lot of good luck. Like I've worked with a lot of great artists, and even if they're super talented and do feel themselves, like they're also like just genuinely care about how you feel too. Yeah, I think I'm lucky. Like, honestly, I can only think of like one time where I was like, this is fucked, you know? Like, I was like, this sucks. I don't want to be here, you know? What about you guys, though? Have you had like bad experiences?
I have, like, in my short amount of time, like actually engineering. I have had only one really like bad session,
Yeah.
and it was really just like what you mentioned, just about like not really explaining what you really want,
Yeah.
and it's
Like,
like
they expect you to get everything
yeah,
that goes on in their brain.
and
Like,
it's like especially with like the industry, like artists jump around from engineers to engineers, go to like different studios and stuff. So it's like I understand them being like, "Oh, I recorded this at this other place, and make it
right.
sound just like that." And
Oh,
it's like,
man.
you know
That's
what I mean?
true.
So it's like
That
I'm
is
like,
true.
okay, I could do my best to make it sound like it, and like when I hear it, I could be like, "Yo, that's the same thing," but
Yeah.
like depending on like different things.
Like, they're so used to that template or that vocal chain.
Yeah,
Honestly, for artists that are like that picky about that stuff, like, I would recommend they just like get their engineer to like make them a template and give their engineer a template
yeah,
Yeah.
if they're that specific about it. Because it's like, why are you
Exactly.
making me like do what that guy did? Like, I just want to do what I want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to do what you want to do, but it's like, I'm not gonna get that guy's sound because that's his sound. You know, like,
exactly.
I hear things differently than him.
I feel
You
like
know?
another point too, like what you were talking about is like, you know, it might be the same sound, but they're associating different feelings with what they're currently going through right now, right? So like maybe at this one studio they always feel a certain type of way,
Yeah.
right? But then they come here and they might feel a little bit different, right? Even though it might be the exact same fucking template.
Yeah.
It could be
They
the
might
same
be-
template,
Yeah, they might be really comfortable recording in their producer's basement,
right?
but in a big room, it's like a little bit different. You know?
Yeah.
They may be used to hearing it on HS8s,
Different headphones or
and
whatever.
Yeah.
they were using the NS10s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely have had that experience as well. It was not fun. I'm not gonna say names. It was a big session though. I had him go make a run, and he, you know, we ended up getting into conversation, and then it totally slipped my mind, and I looked at him. I was like, "Oh yeah, do you want me to like go get those?" And he's just like, "Duh," and like I felt so stupid at the time, and I didn't really know like, but I just had to remember like, no, like this is just my job. Whatever he's partying, I'm there to serve. So I
But
just need
you
to
were
keep
the
it
only
perfect.
engineer and runner on the session.
No, there was another engineer hand. There's two other engineers, one of which was their engineer, and then Dion.
Oh, so like you were the runner. Of
I
the
was
session.
I was being the runner of the session.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Weird.
But I had one session where the guy was getting really picky about
Yeah.
like his compressor, and I was like, I'm compressing it like crazy, bro. I don't know.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
more compression. And then I just looked over at him and I just stopped recording and I said, hey, like I'm doing what you're asking me to do. And then eventually I basically just convinced him to just trust me.
Yeah.
And then the session went on and we ended up vibing and had a good time. So
Word.
I would have just
Did
been
you-
like, I did every time he asked me for more, I was like, okay, got it. Like, I added it. He's like, more. Okay, I added it. Eventually, you just like, but you don't do anything. You just don't touch anything.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like people's brains play tricks on them. you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So like, what are like your motivational factors then? Because like, what's pushing you to keep going? Because I know you said you love music, but
Yeah.
is there anything like bigger as well?
Just constantly like, you know, there's definitely goals I have. Like, I want to, you know, headline a festival. I want to, you know, be at the Grammys. I want to,
Why?
you know, be on the top 100. Like, these are just goals every I mean, maybe not every artist, but you know, a lot of artists have.
Yeah.
Why do I want those things?
Yeah, why?
I guess it's just like I guess like the thing is like the Grammy is just like an accomplishment kind of thing,
Yeah.
you know? But I feel like the real Grammy, I think ASAP Ferg said this. He's like, never won a Grammy, but like I've headlined 100,000 person festival. Like, that's my Grammy, you know?
Yeah.
And I think I don't really want to headline festival because, oh, that would just be cool and it like feeds my ego. It would just be crazy to be in a conversation with 100,000 people at the same time. You know what I mean?
I like how you frame that.
Yeah.
So you're not performing. I'm having a conversation.
Yeah, it is literally like a shared like experience, you know? And that's why I want, just like thinking about it gives me chills. Like I just would love performing ever since I was a kid in choir and church and in bands in high school, battle of the bands, like playing in hostels with my, like one of my first bands. And then like, yeah, like recently I'm doing some like acoustic open mics and stuff. And like on July 16th, I got a show, like my buddy's doing like a cancer charity show. So
Nice.
I'm looking forward to that. And like, yeah, it's just like being on stage is just really fun. So honestly, I think performing would be my biggest goal. Is just performing for, you know, a broad audience. And it's like, it's not that I want to just make pop music just to like reach a big audience. It's like, I would just genuinely love if the music I like to make reached a big audience and I could like perform for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
More about just sharing your life with people.
But it's not even about the numbers either. Like if I have a room of like 20 people or like 40 people and I can make them all like dance, then I can do that for 100,000 people. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
I think Wim Butler from Arcade Fire said that. He's like, they started off just like in little basements, 40 people. And like, it's literally the same, they have the same energy
As
if they were playing for 100,000 people. And like, if you can make a small room that's 20 to 40 people, whatever, like dancing their asses off and you're having a lot of fun, you can do it for a lot of people too. It's like, you don't want to just like judge yourself when you're at your best. It's like, you kind of want to perform and have fun even when it's just for small crowds, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm definitely like, looking forward to performing in July. That'll be fun.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, you guys will be there.
Is that gonna be like your first like performance?
As City Stranger, yeah.
Jeez.
Well,
I actually want to talk to you about that.
No, I've had one open mic. I did, but at Objects. But yeah, what's up?
Yeah, so City Stranger. How did that come about?
So, actually, like,
I love that name.
so originally it was City Strangers because I was like, I want to be a band, and I was working with these like guys at the time, and like there's a bunch of people that I collaborate with, but there was like some frequent collaborators like let's make a band, that'd be fun, and then we needed a name because it couldn't be Anthony Jordan, you know?
Yeah.
But I decided to go as a solo artist too, and just drop the S, because you know, just being Anthony Jordan to me didn't feel right. Like I wanted to be kind of like, I look up to Tame Impala, and it's like a lot of people don't even know that it's one guy that makes the music. And he's like much more of a control freak and like only likes to produce the shit by himself and then play live with the band. Whereas like I like to collaborate with people in studio too. Yeah. But I wanted to have that like ambiguity, you know? And the actual like way we came up with the name, basically like it just came to me. We were throwing out a bunch of ideas, kind of like, you know, have you seen the movie Dirt with Motley Crue, where like sit around the table and they're like, all right, here's the time, your most epic band names you've ever wanted, like lay them out there. Like we got to find a sick band name. So we all just did that. Yeah. And some of them were like fucking like, I don't know, like beans and farts and like, just like really dumb shit. But we got all the ideas out there. And then like City Stranger just came to me. I was like, you know, we're in the city. A lot of like, I'm the one connecting factor between all these five guys. Like they didn't know each other before, or like kind of knew each other. Some of them were like in a group together, but like the five of us weren't like really tight friends. We were kind of strangers. Yeah. And it was just like, City Strangers? They're like, yeah, that's a sick name. And then we looked it up online and it was like available. I was like, that's sick.
Yeah. Sick.
Yeah, I love that name a lot.
Cause I know like you went through a couple like rebrandings of your names. So like,
well, there's Anthony Jordan.
Yeah.
Which is not my real last name.
Yeah.
That's like just my stage name.
Why Jordan?
Just more American, you know, like Yordanov sounds very Russian, you know, and I'm not even Russian. I don't want people to like
think you're Russian.
Yeah, it's kind of like there's like obviously the Russophobia kind of like, you know, in North America. So there was that, but yeah, and then I was like, Jordan. Jordan is actually where the name comes from. So like Jordans and Yordanovs are like distantly related. Some of them just ended up in Eastern Europe and put the Eastern European version of it on, and then some of them ended up in America, and then some of them in Africa and whatever, right? The history of the name is actually pretty sad. Like it's like comes from the River Jordan. It's like the Christian pilgrimages that came through there at the time. Like that's where it comes from. But yeah, it was just like the American version of my name.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Just listening to you speak, you seem to talk a lot about team.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it very important to you to have a team, be building a team, be collaborating with a team of people versus being so
musically,
or in general?
Well, you know, teamwork makes the dream work, baby. It's really true though. You know, like everything about this is team. You know, like even I consider the fans and like my friends and family, those are part of my team, you know? That's like the army, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Behind every artist, it's just like 100 people that like make them who they are. It's not just like them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, in terms of like collaborating musically with like the thing is I wouldn't call the band a team, you know?
Right.
Yeah, it is a team, but it's like more like a gang, you know what I mean? It's like, it's like a brotherhood, you know?
I like that.
It's like you're either in it until you die or like, you know, we gotta like, we gotta like secretly take this guy out. You know, like it's like, no, it's like, I'm just kidding. Obviously, like it is kind of a gang mentality though, where it's like, it's a brotherhood. And also like, I feel like music is meant to be collaborative, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like before there was instruments, there was vocals, and then somebody picked up sticks and stones and started banging around. Then there was like rhythmic instruments to accompany the vocals. And then there was like flutes they made out of fucking branches and shit. And then like, you know, it's always been about, you know, like the vocal and the story and like the whole like storytelling part of it is like one thing, but then there's like the accompaniment.
Yeah.
And I feel like, yeah, it's like I can produce and make my stuff alone, but it's like, it's kind of like, I feel like it's meant to be done together. You know what I mean? Like music is collaborative, you know? Like when you look at a band, it's like, yeah, there's like these guys that like loop and do it all themselves, but it's like when you see two people, like a guitarist and a lead singer or a drummer, like they're at a festival and they're not performing to people, they turn their back and they're like playing to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not so much you're performing only for the crowd, but you're also making a performance for each other in the band, you know? Something about that is just timeless, you know? So it's mostly because I wanted that. Sorry?
Those are like some of the best performances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just as a viewer and a fan watching it, like you could tell
They're
like,
feeding off of
it's
it.
just
Yeah.
it's just genuine that they're actually having a good time out there and not just like you know those stories of like the bands that hate each other and they're just like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like those are the best ones.
That's
sure.
every band has moments of that.
Yeah.
You know, brothers fight, you know?
Yeah.
But that's part of the magic of it too. It's like, it's never going to be like a perfect like gel, but it's like nothing is, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you want to be like Kevin Parker and just do it all yourself and then like have a band just like back you live, which is cool. That would just get lonely. Like being a solo artist without a band, when I released Burn and I Wish You Would, it kind of just was like lonely at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I realized like I just want other people like to just be around. But yeah, I was at this punk show and these guys were like, shout out Paste. I was at my friend's show and they were like second band to play. They're literally moshing into each other, like on stage. The guitarist, the bassist, and the lead singer, while they're playing their instruments, are like mosh pitting on stage.
That's crazy.
You know, and like the guitarist in the middle of his solo, like so full of energy, he knocked the monitor off the stage and fell over the monitor into the crowd, and he did not miss a beat. Like his solo just kept, like he just kept playing guitar.
What?
And then the next band, I'm not going to say who it is because I'm not trying to knock them, but like the next band, their guitarist was like, yo, we can't let these guys like one up us. So his guitarist came out into the crowd and did a fucking solo too, but it was not as cool. Like he didn't fall over the stage and
It
like
wasn't
keep
it wasn't as real
Yeah.
and genuine.
It wasn't,
no.
yeah.
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 Like you can't beat real and genuine. You
Yeah.
just can't. Even if, no matter how good you are, like
It was a good try.
yeah.
It was a good try.
I mean, the fact that they did try, I'll give them that.
Yeah.
I'll give them
the effort was there.
The effort.
But man,
Shout
I wish you
shout
guys
out
could
to
see
you,
that.
band.
That was so fucking, that was one of my top concert experiences. What are your guys like top concert experiences?
I crowd surfed at the Lamb of God
Oh, wow.
show. Yeah, I went to heavy MTL.
Yeah.
Fucking yeah.
What's heavy? Is that a festival?
Yeah, it's heavy Montreal.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I went to Montreal with my stepdad and crowd surfed for Lamb of God, and that shit was
Wow.
Yeah,
Did you take your shoes off, or are you just kicking people in the face?
the latter.
Yeah. I always wear these like exact shoes to concerts because they're kind of flimsy. You know, like I'm not gonna bring my fucking like Doc Martens with like 2-inch soles made of hard rubber to a show and I'd crowd surf. Like you got to be prepared
Yeah.
if you're a crowd surfer type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I was by myself, so like
Yeah.
it was kind of weird. I had like went up to these two strangers. I'm like, can you lift me up?
yeah. And they're probably like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude, get on our shoulders.
Yeah.
Like, I love concerts. I feel like being in a concert is like, it's the same kind of brotherhood as being in a band at the same time. Because you're there for the same reason.
Exactly.
You might have completely opposite political views, completely different people.
But for that moment, you're
values,
there to
but
watch
for that
show.
moment, you guys are fucking family.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you want to get on my shoulders and like, you know, crowd surf over random people, like go for it, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Something very spiritual. It's like almost like going to church. You know, something very spiritual about going to a concert.
Yeah.
I feel like I miss it so much, man. It's so nice to be back.
I'd say my second one, I saw Travis too. Travis Scott. It was
How's
lit.
that?
It was
I
lit.
heard he kills shows.
Bro, it was lit. But it
He's
sucked,
talking with autotune on his mic.
bro.
still.
But it sucked because I was at the very, very last row at the ACC at Scotiabank.
Jeez.
So it wasn't the same feeling, but I still had a blast.
Yeah.
Like, it's Travis. I'm sorry, but like no one can compete with his shows when it comes to like rap.
Yeah.
Like there's just something about the energy he brings to his shows. Like a metal band, bro, that's Travis. Like that's what he does.
He's like a metal, the same
Bro,
energy.
he's that mosh pit energy, bro. Like he's all for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little too much.
He's crazy, bro. The shows are crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think hopefully he learned a little bit of a lesson from that terrible experience.
I've only been to one concert my whole life.
No way.
Yeah.
Bro, we gotta take this guy out.
What? We're going
it was-
tonight, bro. There's like 30
I went-
concerts in Toronto happening right now.
Yeah. No, it was the Roddy Ricch concert. And
Oh.
that was the one that got me into producing.
Really?
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
Cause like I don't know if you heard my first interview, but yeah, no, I explained that whole story. I went to the Roddy Ricch concert. It was my first like actual concert to go to.
Yeah.
Like I've been to concerts, but it wasn't like a big concert. It was like a local, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like that was my first concert, and like that's what got me into producing because I just seen it. I was like, yo, people are playing these songs that are produced by somebody. I want to have that.
Yeah,
feeling.
where the fuck is the producer? You know?
Right?
Like,
Exactly. So
It was more about the DJ at that point.
yeah. It's really the producer in the 808s that's making the girls like twerk and shit. Like, you know, the artist is out there like, yeah, they're doing their thing, but yeah.
The 808 and the claps.
Yeah. That must have been exciting. So why haven't you been to more?
I started producing like a year before COVID. So it's like
COVID. Oh yeah, COVID.
COVID shut down a bunch of things. Like I wanted to go to like Coachella and all these places.
Yeah.
But thankfully they have like Rolling Loud in Toronto this year.
I have to get my tickets. They're probably sold out already.
Nah, they're probably still available.
Yeah. That's gonna be sick.
How do you guys feel about that lineup?
Like it's like Dave.
I think so. I think so.
And I didn't think that many, like, I know Dave is like huge, obviously, but I didn't think he was like
Headliner.
mainstream huge. Like he's pretty political and woke, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not-
Dave, Future, WizKid.
Future and WizKid, yeah. Like I would definitely go to that.
Yeah.
I wonder who are like the smaller. Is Rolling Loud only hip hop and rap?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
That's
Or
like
like-
what it's known for.
yeah.
Yeah.
And R&B, probably pop kind of
There's
stuff
a little
too,
bit of
right?
R&B, but
Yeah. Kind of like the R&B, but it's more on like the turnt side type of feeling. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, fuck yeah. I'd
Yeah.
wonder who are some of the smaller artists like coming up right now that'd be there.
I think
I'm low key a little bit disappointed, I'll be honest, on
Yeah.
the list.
Yeah.
Because like some of my peoples weren't on there, man.
No.
Yeah. Like Portion's not on there.
Really.
Yeah,
Northside
Charmaine's not
Northside
on
Benji's
there.
not on there. Charmaine's not on there. And
Amal's not on there?
Charmaine knows how to
Amal's
rock a
not on
crowd,
there.
right?
Oh,
Yeah,
that would be crazy. Yeah.
yeah. It's like I don't know who is running it, but I mean, like the list is still great. Everybody's mad talented on the list, you know. But
Yeah.
it's like it would have been dope to see those guys on there too.
Yeah. I've heard that it's hard for shows even still in Canada because of COVID. Like some things still get canceled and stuff, which I don't understand why. Because it's like, you know, we've been through like 6-7 waves now, and like the last 2, nobody has even like shut down.
Yeah.
So I don't know where. Maybe there's something to do with that, but
It's because we're Canadian. We're fucking pussies.
I know it's a lot easier in the States. That's
like
for sure.
in the States, bro. Like they've been living like it's 2019 since last year.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, since the beginning of the pandemic in some
Yeah.
places, yeah.
do you have any tips for any upcoming? Do you have tips for upcoming artists, producers, engineers, things like that? I mean, this whole episode
break
was
it down
that
one
but
by one because you do all of it.
Yeah.
So what's your tip for an upcoming engineer?
Well, I'll give you one recording tip, one mixing tip.
Okay.
Okay. Recording, just like always hit record. You know?
yes.
Yeah.
Even if you don't think that even if like somebody's just fucking talking in the room and they're like they're not even recording, like doing something, like just record everything, you know? I think the recording engineer is obviously the person that gets a good tone out of things, and like you have to make sure everything's set up, and you know, if you're doing a band, it's like everything is ready and all that, but like just like always be ready to record. That's tip number 1. Maybe tip number 2, be a good host, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Be very aware of like, you know, the studio is not your typical work environment. It's not like, you know, going to, you go to a spa or something and you want to be treated like, you know, or it's like you go to somebody's houses for dinner. Treat the studio like a dinner table.
Yeah.
How about that? You know?
Yeah.
Welcome people, and like same thing if you house somebody for dinner. Get them a coffee, you know, make sure it smells nice. Put some candles up, you know?
Yeah.
I think that this also applies to even if you're even if you're running sessions out of your own home.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, 100%.
Same rule applies.
I know people probably expect me to give them like tips on like what's the best vocal chain, or like how to get the best headroom, or like what.
No, we don't
you know,
need that.
What do you know?
Yeah.
The thing is, like, I think communication is really undervalued. You know, you can be really talented and have zero communication skills, and like people will remember how your mix sounded, but they're gonna remember more like how you left them feeling. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like I think some people are just naturally not that good at like hosting or communicating, and it's like hard for them to like understand that, because they think like to be the best engineer they just have to like read the most manuals and like know the secrets of Dave Pensato and Jason Joshua the most, and like know all like the secrets and stuff and how to get the best sound. But it's, you know, I think it's mostly like you have to have a good ear for like just experimentation and fucking around, you know?
Yeah.
Getting a balance and getting things to sound right, like it's pretty, it can take a long time to like learn. I'm still learning how to do all that shit, but it's like, you know, that's pretty straightforward, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But like having the ear like, yo, I'm going to put that like delay through like a reverse reverb, and then like add like an echo boy, and then like RMX it, and then like I'm gonna put like isotope, like I'm gonna like open it in RX and then I'm gonna like take it out and then like only use the mouth click, just like doing weird stupid shit and like experimenting.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna put this guitar through like a fucking gate and like go like da 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 in the background. It's like adding another instrument to the song, you know? It's like having, you know, just trust your own ear and like experiment. Like that's huge. And like also just being a good host, being like a good hang, you know?
Yeah.
Mixing tips. I guess that was kind of a mixing tip, but I spent a lot of my earlier career like hearing from guys like, oh, producers, like the quickest way to like never get a call again is if you like fuck with their beat too much and like put too much processing on it and like stuff like that. Like you just gotta like make things like louder and cleaner and like sound like better, but like don't fuck it up. Like don't change it too much, because then like they'll be like, oh, this guy like changed my beat. I think that's true in a lot of situations where you're working with, like, let's say a singer, and then the producer gives you like beat stems to something, and then they're like, okay, like just mix everything, like balance it out, make it better. I think the singer will appreciate you fucking doing weird things to their voice and adding weird chops and, you know, throws and stuff like that. But if you don't know the producer like that, then maybe leave their beat kind of like how it is and just balance it well.
Yeah.
But if you like know a producer and you know the singer and they're like entrusting you to do something, I'd say like just play and like have fun, you know, put your spin on it, you know, like I never did that. And then I realized like it's hurting me. It's like I started getting to people like that expected me to like put my own sauce and stuff on it. They're like, this just sounds like regular mix. And I was like, yeah, but it's like loud and it's like, you know, balanced well. And like,
Yeah.
you know, it worked for that guy, so it'll work for you. But it's like, they kind of want you to just like take something and put an original twist on it.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on like the
clientele.
situation, right?
Yeah.
Like the mix and like you said, like the relationship that you have with the producer and the artist, right?
Yeah. Sometimes they will want you to just run it through the analog gear or like make it louder and make it like just, you know, everything brighter or more brilliant or whatever. But it's like, that's a good, you know, it's a good thing to talk to an artist about. It's like, what do you want me to do to this? You know, do you want me to fuck this up or do you want it to just be louder?
Yeah.
You know?
That just comes back to like communication, as you said, right?
Yeah.
And then
A tip for
producer,
upcoming producer.
learn the piano. Piano is powerful. I think like you can do it not knowing piano. Like if your thing is guitar, you know, make that your sound, like become, you know, really unique and develop your uniqueness on an instrument, because people will remember you because of your sound. And usually with a producer, it's like the producers are the ones that come up with the sound of an artist, you know? You know, you can't credit Travis Scott's sound just to Travis Scott. Like obviously he's a producer too. So yeah, in that scenario, yeah, you can kind of credit both to him. But like, let's say another artist, like, okay, Missy Elliott and Timbo, you know? It's like Missy was the songwriter and the storyteller, and like she was like, you know, the tornado that had to be like channeled into something, but like Timbo made her sound, you know?
Yeah.
Like he was the one, and they made it together because she was like really good at co-producing and stuff too. But it's like the producer has to have a sound. Like you have to have your own sound, and like that usually comes from like just knowing really well, like if it could, your instrument could be programming, right? Like it could be drums and like programming shit, but it's like, yeah, pick something and just like develop it. You can be really good at a lot of things, but like be great at one thing. And the piano is like just easy to like, for a songwriter or for like a producer, like you can turn that instrument into so many things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's also very tactile too. So it's like, you can really quickly come up with ideas on piano, whereas guitar, it's like all shapes and stuff like that. And it's like a little bit not as intuitive to just like get sounds going.
Yeah.
But then guitar is also magical because you can like bend. You can't bend on a piano,
Yeah.
you know?
That's true.
Producer, program, know how to program stuff,
Yeah.
you know? You can be an old school producer that only like songwrites on guitars and then gets a bunch of different people to like produce and like get somebody to engineer. But it's like, if you know how to engineer, that's going to be your cheat code to get into rooms with artists. If you know how to program, that's going to be your cheat code to get your like production heard. You know what I mean? Yeah. Nowadays it's like really important to be a jack of all those things, like all those trades: engineering, production, programming, musicianship, instruments, you know?
Last tip for artists on the come up.
For artists, don't put so much pressure on your first like song to be like this crazy thing, because your sound is going to change. You know what I mean? Unless you've written, you know, 200 songs and produced them and everything, and like, you know, your sound, you know that for this whole album, I'm going to be in this vibe, you know?
Yeah.
Like I see a lot of artists, they like put everything on their first releases and then they have to follow up with it, and people might want that same thing again, but it's like their music taste has changed. Like this happened to my friend too. Like he got his shit on World Star and then he's like, I don't even like making that music anymore. And all the pressure was just like killing him, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, you could be really good at something like, but like still not really know your sound. And I think it's really important to find your own sound, something that you really love doing. And that'll develop over the first like few releases you do, but it's like you won't know that until you just release stuff. So it's like just get your music out there and like stop making such a big deal about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can make a big deal about it when you've figured out your sound. Then the aesthetic is really important. Then the music videos are really important. Then making the project all sound like a vibe where it's like not like changing from Americana to like dance to dark R&B. It's like just release music, you know.
Word.
Release music. If you don't
Got to see what
if you don't feel like your stuff is very good, it's probably not that good. You know, you have to like it first, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also important to like be open to other people's opinions, you know? Have some harsh critics. Don't just ask your mom and your sister like what your song is like. 'Cause
They'll
they're going
always
to tell you
it's good.
they'll always tell you it's good, you know? Or your dad might always tell you it's bad, and then maybe don't show him your music because that will just crush you.
Yeah.
But you know, like I would say like work with people that are also open as well, so that they're not just going to be like, it has to be like this, you know?
Yeah.
Or if they're like being like that, be like, okay, hey man, like I'm willing to be open to your ideas, but we got to like keep an open mind. Like music could go any which way, you know?
Exactly.
I
It's
think
so
I s-
subjective.
I talked to Johnny Faye from The Hip about it, and he was like, he spent the first half of his career thinking like it has to be this way, and then the second half realizing like it could really go any way.
Yeah.
You know, like a song doesn't have to be any sort of way. You can take somebody's advice and it could completely change the direction of it, and it could sell more records like that. It's like it doesn't have to be like it's good to have a vision in your head of like what the finished product is like, but that vision can constantly be evolving based
Yeah.
off of like who's inputting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think I struggle with that with mixing actually.
It's good to show your friends mixes. Sometimes they'll give you
Yeah.
ideas, right?
Like it's exactly what you were saying is like I have this vision and like I want it to sound a very particular way, but through experimentation and trial and error I'm getting a different result that the artist ends up liking anyway.
Right. But you experiment when you don't know exactly where you're gonna go with it.
I'm trying to get to a place.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to a place that my ear wants to hear
Mm.
and that I know that is going to be aesthetically pleasing to me, but on my way to get there, I seem to struggle to actually achieve that sound that I'm going for, but end up liking it enough but the artist also loving it,
Yeah.
which is I find very interesting.
Do you feel like you hit those like you hit that when you're like kind of just like on, and then some days you have like off days and you're just not exactly, because I know that's a big thing for engineers too. It's like you have on days and off days too, right?
Honestly, I feel like I'm always off because I'm trying to always just be better, right?
Mm.
So I want to be better. I keep holding myself to these higher and higher standards. I compare my records to other records.
Have you?
I think that's
And-
I think that's actually kind of good. If your skills, if you're hearing something that's like better, maybe I'm not answering because I feel like you're on and you're getting a good result. It's not. I feel like an off day is when you literally can't get any results. You know what I mean? Where it's like you just don't. It just does not sound good. But I feel like Jacob Collier talks about how it's like his technical skills on the piano are always behind what he hears in his head. So his solos always sound crazier in his head. But he's like, that's a great problem to have. It's like Lou with the plateauing thing. It's like, you know, if you ever plateau, you should just quit because it's like, you know,
Yeah.
you're not gonna, you know, your music's not gonna improve. So it's like and then you start to panic because it's like, fuck, like I'm literally like I can't get any better. But it's your ear is always a step ahead of your skills. Then you always have something to grow into.
Yeah. I feel like if you are plateauing, you got to change something up. If you feel like you're starting to plateau, you got to switch shit up, change up the
Yeah.
template, change up the way you're recording, whatever
Listen
it
to
is.
different music.
Yeah.
The fuck is hyperpop? I don't know. It sounds cool though. I'll learn from it as much as I can. The production in that shit is crazy.
I've been loving pop lately. Like loving pop.
What kind of pop?
Like just like modern pop. Like indie pop.
Like Tate McRae or like
Oh, I fucking love
Put me
Tate
onto a
McRae,
song, bro. Put me onto a song.
Aim to Kill by Jade Lamack. She's from Vancouver, 18.
Oh yeah.
That's the one you sent me, right?
Fire, bro.
Have you heard of Lolo? I think she's from
Lolo.
Toronto. She's crazy.
Yeah.
She's making like pop punk. It's dope. Yeah.
Sick. Before we like end off, Do you have anything you want to say to like fans, family, or anything at all?
Honestly, come to the show July 16th, Oli Palooza.
Yeah.
You'll see it on my Instagram and stuff.
What's your Instagram? Share it for the.
It's called City Stranger. You can probably just look that up. I'll be first, but it's actually I Am City Stranger. That's the full handle.
Okay.
But there's not really that many city strangers out there, so just look up City Stranger. You'll find me everywhere.
The irony is that we are all city strangers.
Exactly. Exactly. I got a cool thing going now. I can call my fans strangers.
That's
You know?
cool. That's actually dope.
Yeah.
I actually like that a lot.
Yeah. I got my
That's
little
dope.
believers.
All right, y'all.
All right.
Peace.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Anytime, man.
The Behind the Sound podcast was recorded at the Orange Lounge Recording Studio, located downtown Toronto.